JP Clement, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you. You're coming to us with a great background in digital marketing. And so we're going to be talking about the ROI of marketing, but from the perspective of organizational leaders and employee experience. Ultimately, we want to figure out how we can better convey organizational brand to potential employees so that we can attract and ultimately retain the best talent to drive organizational success. As we get started, I wanted to share JP's bio with everybody. JP Clement is the CEO of Boomtime. He has over 30 years of experience in marketing, digital strategy, and product management for companies ranging from startups to global brands such as Madison Square Garden, General Mills, DFS Group, Johnson & Johnson, and National Geographic. JP has worked for or helped companies in both the business to consumer and business to business sectors and founded 3 digital strategy and marketing agencies after working for many years on the corporate side of marketing. JP's passions for analytics, digital products, and creating the right strategy at the right time for the right audience really drive his work. It's a pleasure, JP, to have you with me today. Anything else you would like to share with listeners by way of your background or personal context before we launch on in?
Not really. I mean, I think the bio says it all. It's short and sweet, and I think it works.
Okay, wonderful. Well, so let's start with just defining some things. I think most listeners of this podcast are people managers, executives, organizational leaders, just trying to figure out how to better run their teams, how to leverage the talents and capabilities of their teams. And I think a big piece of that comes back to the message that we convey as an organization out to the labor market in the hopes and attempts to attract, retain the best people. I think that's important in any labor market conditions, but I think it's particularly important right now during this, what's been coined the great resignation, and organizations really are struggling to get good talent. And that's been the case for a long time, particularly in STEM fields and certain technical fields. It's been really hard to get good people. And now it's even harder than ever. And so organizations are really struggling with that. So you have to compete in a variety of ways. Of course, you have to have competitive pay and compensation packages, other perks and benefits that you can provide to your employees. But you also you have to be known. You have to be known to the labor market, and people have to know that you're a place that they might want to go work. And so that comes back to your background in digital marketing. So maybe just start zooming out before we focus on organizational brand marketing, zooming out. And let's talk a little bit about digital marketing more generally and how we can ensure ROI in general digital marketing efforts. And then we can talk more specifically about how to do that in terms of organizational branding.
Yeah, definitely. So digital marketing, is a pretty interesting field. I've been in it since 1998. So I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I kind of seen it all. But what's really fascinating to me in digital marketing, that's why I enjoy working it so much, is that you can prove the ROI of whatever you do pretty easily compared to what used to be called traditional marketing. And it's almost a necessity now, because I don't know if you probably have read the same kind of things that I've read, but there are over 40 different subtypes of digital marketing. So think about SEO, SEM, PPC campaigns, influencer marketing, content marketing, social media marketing, and on and on and on like this. So over 40 types of digital marketing that you can do. So it's really it's a pretty complex world where you absolutely have to understand each of these components of digital marketing, understand how they work together, and how you can measure the success of what you're doing with these campaigns. And again, the beauty of digital marketing is that things are pretty easy to track. You can use tracking pixel, tracking URLs. You can do, there's, you have free Google Analytics, and all kinds of other tools. So it's important, but it's really critical. I think, one of my old mentors about 25 years ago, so even before digital marketing, told me look, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. So in terms of creating ROI, you have to know what your goals are. You have to put numbers towards those goals, understand what KPIs are going to tell you whether you're doing well or not, and track and monitor all of these analytics to make sure that at the end of the day you're getting the kind of ROI that you want, or that you need, or that you can afford.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think HR, as I think about marketing kind of historically, and what you're putting your marketing budget towards, are you able to really track and understand what the ROI is of all those efforts? Historically, it's hasn't always been great. Like you do a bunch of things and you're not exactly sure what's working, but you're just trying a bunch of things. And in the HR space, it was kind of similar
Yeah.
historically. You do lots of different training initiatives. You do, different compensation packages. You do all these different things, and you think, you see an uptick in retention, for example. Well, that's great, but you can't. It's hard to pinpoint, right? Like what actually caused the uptick. You're right, though. Things we have much more enhanced opportunity to understand through all of the analytics that are produced in this age of digital transformation, so that there's so much more we can know and pinpoint as to the ROI of specific events, initiatives, trainings, in the case of marketing, specific campaigns, and whatever. Maybe talk a little bit more about that for anyone listening who's maybe not as comfortable on the analytics side.
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of places where you can look at actual data and analytics to tell you how well you're doing in terms of digital marketing in general, but specifically, in the type of digital marketing to employees, either current or past or future, and there's a lot of things that you can do, right? So, for instance, we use, I think, a series of platforms to hire people, right? So, Indeed, monster.com. I mean, we pretty much use all of them. And sometimes we go actually to more niche platform for specific needs that we have as a digital marketing agency. We also developed our own platform, so digital platform. So we have a proprietary software that we develop in-house. So we're not just looking for marketers, we're also looking for coders and developers, engineers. So those tools actually by themselves give you a lot of information that you can use to decide whether your ads are working, your job postings basically are working, and all of that. So there's a lot of depth in those platforms to help you figure out whether what you're doing is working or not, in terms of hiring, at least. We also use at Boomtime specifically, we use a platform called Lattice, which is a really amazing SaaS, enterprise SaaS platform that helps you basically manage your team in terms of performance review, career paths, and all that kind of things. And that actually gives you a lot of information, actual qualitative and quantitative information as to how people are progressing through their careers, and doing all kinds of things that might tell you whether they're being retained properly or not. And so it's a really great platform that I highly recommend. It's not very expensive, and the tools that it gives you are just outstanding. But yeah, I mean, so you can see the ROI of what you're doing to retain your people. You can measure the ROI of what you're doing to attract people, right? And see what moves the needle.
Yeah, that's excellent. And the nice thing about all of this analytics analysis that we can go about to be able to understand ROI and any other KPIs, any other metrics, right, that are important to us. One of the really nice things about that is we can just iterate quickly, right? So we can try things, we can really experiment, and we're not locked into some huge, long-term marketing campaign or long-term HR initiative. We can try it out, and we can try it out in bursts and see how it performs. And then we can iterate and tweak and adjust and ultimately find the approach that seems to work the best.
Yeah, Exactly. I mean, I'm dating myself again here, but when I used to do, print advertising, you had like especially for magazines, you were looking at months ahead of preparation, right, to run an ad in a magazine, and then you would have to wait, and you didn't get in very good metrics, right? Nowadays, you can change your ads on Google Ads, you can change your ads if you're trying to recruit someone on Indeed. You can do so many things very quickly and see the results very quickly. But again, you have to pay attention to those metrics, right? And you have to set the metrics, set the goals, and then keep monitoring because it's very easy to forget, and it's kind of a chore, right, to always look at those metrics. But it's critical in terms of your ROI. I mean, you'll never be able
Yeah.
to get the right ROI if you don't pay very close attention to your campaigns. For instance, when we do Google ad campaigns, for instance, or Facebook ad campaigns, or LinkedIn ad campaigns for our clients, we look at those, on a daily basis at the beginning of the campaign, and then probably on a weekly basis. It's not something you can just run and then forget about, right? You have to be constantly on top of that if you want to generate the right type of ROI.
Yeah, and you really have to be thoughtful about the metrics, and you have to measure the right things, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's also kind of the trick. Is not only you have to measure the right things, but you also have to interpret them the right way. So know how to interpret the data, which a lot of people, not necessarily aren't necessarily very comfortable with. So for our clients, that's what we do a lot of. We digest the data for them. We create stories around that data to be able to feed them, because they don't want to look at pages and pages of like tables and graphs and things like that. They just want to we tell them, hey, these are the 5 key points that you need to take out of this campaign's metrics, right?
Yeah, that's super helpful. And so when we're talking about employee experience, for example, if we zoom into that now, as an organization, I want to make sure that once I get new employees in the door, that I'm able to help them to feel empowered, that they have autonomy, that they have the ability to be creative and innovate and, do their best work, be their authentic self, and bring that to the table so that they can accomplish great things individually, but also as a team, and to help the organization be successful. So ultimately, it's about, creating psychological safety. It's about creating an inclusive workplace environment, engaging culture, all of these different elements that go into this overarching goal of a positive employee experience. And we should try to measure each of those components, because it takes a lot of time and energy, and it's going to take a lot of money to be able to move the needle and improve. If, for example, if there's a negative culture that you're trying to improve, that's not easily done. It takes a lot of effort. And so you need to make sure that you're tracking all of the different initiatives and all the different components to an overarching intervention strategy that you might have, for example, to try to improve employee experience. Let's say, though, for example, that now we feel like we have a really great employee experience. We have a dynamic culture. We have a great environment. People are thriving. They love it at our organization. Okay, now how do we spread the word? How do we actually let other people out there in the workforce know about that, so that we can leverage the positive employee experience into a really strong employer brand that will attract really great applicants, so that we can have the best people in our organization? Any thoughts on how an organization can start to go about that organizational branding process to help attract better applicants?
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting one. So at Boomtime, for instance, I've put in place a bunch of different things that kind of go to what you're talking about here. And I don't think, just like in digital marketing, there is no more silver bullets, right? You have to do a bunch of different things. So I call it a lot of lead bullets, no silver bullets, no silver bullet. And so it's the same, in terms of getting your organizational brand out there. So we use a variety of tactics or techniques for that. So for instance, we post a lot on, I've required that everybody on my team is on LinkedIn and has a clean, active LinkedIn profile. So when we post something, and I post a lot on LinkedIn, that our team has to interact with it and interchange with it. And the kind of things that we post, are sometimes about digital marketing, but sometimes just about ourselves, right? And so that gets that message out. And the activity, the engagement that the rest of the team has with the thing is another way to show that, you know, everybody's behind those things that we're talking about, and you know that we show this united front. We also have another technique that we use is that we have a very specific team page on our website. And that team page is tries to get at the heart of who we are as a company and really showcase our core values. And it's, you know, so we put in place some core values. We reinforce them through, like, every single day, every single hour. We try to reinforce our core values. Lattice, that I mentioned before, also enables us to give feedback to other people in the company, privately or publicly. And every time we give feedback, we attach a core value to the feedback. So that feedback, demonstrates, you know, or is tied to those core values specifically. So we do that all the time. Excuse me. But so that helps a lot. But so our team page embodies those core values, and I think we have those core values on our team page as well. So if you go there, you can see what kind of company we are, right, and how happy the people are, and how quirky we are, and so on. We're not just great at doing digital marketing; we're also people, right? And you know, we talk about our dogs and our kids and our, you know, we have a lot of dogs in the company, but that's another way, you know, a very easy way to see, you know, who we are as a company and get people out there. And our team page is, I think, well, maybe I'm patting myself on the back here, but it's pretty awesome, and it really gives a clear sense of who we are. And then it has our mission statement, our vision, and so on. But it's a great tool to spread that organizational brand out there, and it's. I think it's the third most viewed page on our website. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. And you know, I think of it in kind of two different major buckets. Obviously, it's more nuanced than this, but you can have kind of the traditional promotional campaigns, advertising campaigns, where you can put out, you know, a particular message on your organization's social media channels or in print ads or whatever. Like you can do all of those kind of traditional things to convey core values of the organization in a more traditional sense. That's one bucket, but the other bucket, and the one that I think is actually much more impactful, is the more organic approach, which you've been describing. And that is just through the encouragement of having your people, not the organizational account for various social media platforms pushing things out, but each individual employee who works within your team, that they also can share things about their experience in the workplace and the good things that are happening and the cool work that they're doing, and just like all these sorts of things, organically pushing those things out on a consistent basis. That is just, there's much more human connection there than if I'm like scrolling through a social media and then all of a sudden I have like this very produced, you know, corporate video that is like an advertisement that comes up. Like, I'm not really interested in that. I'm not going to watch that. But I'll keep scrolling, and then all of a sudden I come across someone on LinkedIn who's just telling about like some cool thing that happened today at work. That's compelling to me, right? And that's going to move, at least for me, that's going to move the needle more. So I think finding opportunities to create this type of organic branding that can happen can really help us find good results in terms of our organizational branding efforts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and by the way, it also goes for all kinds of digital marketing, right? I mean, anybody can buy an ad, as you were describing, but if you do something that's way more organic like this, the credibility is instantly, a multiple of what it would be if you just put out ads, right? For instance. So yeah, very critical. And and you know, we do a lot of other things to. So for instance, we established a VTO, volunteer time off policy. So people at Boomtime can take a day off, I think every quarter or something like that, to actually do volunteer activities, and it's paid. So it's a time that we're paying them, but they can go in the community, and we're really big with that, and actually do volunteer work. And when they do that, they tell all these people outside of Boomtime in the community that, you know, they're getting paid to actually do volunteer work. That's also another organic way to really get the word out that this is a really cool company to work for. And you know, and it ties very closely to our mission statement and our vision. That's another way that you know, we spread the word very organically again, but it really pays dividend. And works really well because we hear that, right? And of course we do all these kinds of things, right, where, you know, we give bonuses or, you know, conditions for people who refer other people into the company for specific jobs, which also helps to spread the word and the goodwill, because and actually we've hired several people just through referral of our internal people, because they, you know, Boomtime's a great place to work at. They go, and on top of it, we give them money if you can recruit someone, because as you were saying, it's a seller's market, right? It's very hard to hire today, and especially for a company of our size, right? So we offer great benefits. We offer great hard benefits, great soft benefits, like flexible times and things like that. I mean, we have a laundry list. Like we built a kind of a marketing, like kind of a pitch, right? That we put on in our job description, our postings and everything. But that, you know, everybody, when we interview someone, you know, like everybody has their bullet points where they're going to talk about, you know, the great things about Boomtime, the hard benefits and the soft benefits. So we put, for instance, we put together a DEI initiative, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, which makes us more attractive to the kind of people that we want to hire, but also, is another great soft benefit that we push a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Those are all great examples. And again, I mean, the bottom line is we first, of course, have to have a great place to work. We have to, you know, do all the hard work of developing that. But just having a great place to work doesn't mean we're going to actually attract great people. So we have to spread the word. We have to do that that employer and organizational branding, and we have to organically share that. And so the more opportunities that we have to get the word out, you know, the more we're gonna just get really great people just excited about coming to work for XYZ company, whether it's, you know, where you're working, whether it's where I'm working, or any other great company. Everyone wants to work in a place where they have meaning and purpose, and where they're feeling fulfilled, and where they have an opportunity to grow and learn and develop themselves and improve and grow in their career. These are the types of things that we need to be able to convey out to the general public and out to the labor market. And if we can do so, then we're going to reap the benefits of having great people.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I really truly believe that I do a lot of podcasts, like guest podcasts, like, you know, I'm doing now, but we also do our own podcast at Boomtime, and those podcasts are not just me talking about digital marketing. It's also our people coming on, onto the podcast and having a conversation with me about the client success, for instance. And so we can educate our people out there about what we do as a company, but also I think it says a lot about our company to have these conversations in a public space, right? Basically, and it's not just a selling tool or a marketing tool. It's also a way for us to say, hey, you know, this is the kind of company we are. And I'm sure there's people who are watching those podcasts and are like, oh, this looks like a pretty cool company to come and work at, right? So I think there are a lot of tools that may be more indirect, but that I think we're really, if I can get some of our core values out to your audience, for instance, like today. Actually, we're probably not trying to hire people, the kind of people who are listening to your podcast, but just as an example, right? That hopefully someone at some point will hear what I'm saying and will realize, okay, these core values are something that's I'm interested in checking out, and sounds like a good company that I like to work for. So there are indirect ways of doing this as well.
Absolutely. JP, this has just been a really great, fascinating conversation. I appreciate all of your time, all of your insights.
Mhm.
And before we wrap up for today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about your company, your team,
Yeah.
and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yes, so the best way to find us is, of course, our website, boomtime.com, boomtime.com. As for me, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn during the day, and you can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/JP Clement. Pretty straightforward and easy. And then the final word, I guess, just, make sure that you know what you're stepping into, have objectives, have KPIs, keep monitoring them. That's valid for any aspect of your business.
Amen. Amen. Very well done, JP. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I appreciate everything that you shared. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what JP and his team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.